Welcome, guys, to How the Frack We Got Here, a show that takes the news and events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan, and on this show, we simply are all about the facts. There are plenty of news stations out there that simply want to do anything short but inform you. Here at How the Frack We Got Here, that's all we believe in. We go up to the left, we go up to the right, we go up to the middle of independence, we go after all sides because there's more than one side of a story to everything. And you need to know it all in order to actually formulate your own opinion. And that's what we try to do here at How the Frack We Got Here. Thanks for listening, and hold on. It's going to be fun.
God bless America!
Benito, how was it out there? How was it?
That was great.
Bad Bunny's Apple Music halftime show ripped apart by Donald Trump on Truth Social as, quote, one of the worst ever. The Grammy winner's Spanish language performance, which Trump labels a slap in the face to our country, was a celebration of America, with shout-outs to countries and territories across North and South America, including his home, Puerto Rico, part of the U.S.
A my motherland, mi patria, Puerto Rico. Seguimos aquí.
The God timing, it's perfect, and estoy muy agradecido. I'm very happy and grateful. Biggest pleasure is just create, have fun doing it, and connect with the people.
The president taking offense to Benito's Spanish writing, nobody understands a word this guy is saying, calling it an affront to the greatness of America, and seemingly confirming he did not tune into Turning Point USA's counter-programming, the Kid Rock headlined All-American halftime show.
Si hoy estoy aquí en el Super Bowl 60, es porque nunca dejé de creer en mí. Tú también deberías de creer en ti.
I don't know about y'all, but that was freaking beautiful. Yes, and of course, Diaper Donkey, I have a lot to say, but before we get to that, guys, today's date, February 11th, 2026, and this is How the Frack We Got Here. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan on the Frack Right Here. We do take the events of the week and try to make sense of it all. Bear with me, guys. I'm getting over a cold, so voice is a little So if you can hear me, great. If not, please turn on subtitles. I'll try to do my best. That being said, we do pride ourselves on being a news podcast. We do pride ourselves by actually citing from sources with award-winning journalism. We do not do sensational news like Fox News, The Blaze, The Daily Beast, where every extreme left extreme right views from simply don't do that. At the same time, guys, we do try to watch our language, but words do fly. And there may be things that might be shown that might be too intense for younger viewers, so viewer discretion is advised. Aside from that, welcome. So, everybody, okay, let me put it this way. Bad Bunny's Super Bowl performance was, in my mind, a beautiful love letter to all of those people, to Puerto Ricans, to El Salvadorians, to Mexicans, and he included everyone. It was a beautiful, cultural, historical trip to view the side of a culture that not a lot of people know about. I thought it was beautiful to have him, Cardi B, Jessica Alba, Pedro Pascal, so many others. Even some historical musical figures were in there as well. I thought the whole thing was beautiful, even including the 5-year-old. That a lot of people don't remember, the 5-year-old that, got used by the Gestapo ISIS bait to pull his parents out. He was in the performance as well. And again, I thought all that was beautiful. But of course, if you go by the Fox side of things, they're not too happy, especially failed performer, terrible lip syncer, probably on meth by now, Kid Rock, as he speaks to one of the 3 douchebag heads of Fox News, Laura Ingraham.
What'd you think of Bad Bunny? I know you didn't see all of it, but you saw some clips.
Like most people, I didn't understand any of it. I mean, I saw there's a lot of dancers and a lot of big to-do stuff. And, he said he wanted to have a dance party. It looked like he had one. Not my cup of tea, but I don't fault that kid for, doing the Super Bowl, getting in front of a global audience. I fault the NFL for putting him in that position, you know, and turning point for having to come out and have an alternative for people to watch, you know. It's just poor kid.
Really? Poor kid? See, this is why, first off, and I know we're about 5 minutes into recording, and I said I try to watch more Fanny, but I have no else way to say this. Kid Rock, fuck you. I mean, you haven't had a hit since ever. And to sit there and say the same thing that Diaper Don and a lot of you backwards, one limited language people, I couldn't understand a word you were saying. I couldn't understand a word you were saying. I can't enjoy it. Okay. Now, jokingly, Bad Bunny said, 4 months ago, he said 4 months ago, you got 4 months to learn Spanish because the whole thing's going to be in Spanish. And for all those that had trying to find the SAP button, trying to get subtitles on, hoping to God you can get a translation, I don't feel bad for you guys. I don't feel bad for you because it amazes me for a lot of you bleached, undereducated products of No Child Left Behind idiots that you had a perfect opportunity to show what America was about. You had a perfect opportunity to say, you know what? I will expand my horizons. I will learn Spanish. Or I'll learn some of the words. I'll learn some things so I can vibe with it. But you know what I've noticed, majority-wise? It's usually white folks. Now, I'm pretty sure there's some black people. I'm pretty sure there's some other groups out there that are just like, man, I just wish you could have done that in English. Here's the thing that bothers me about this. We are, supposedly in America, we are a melting pot of diversity. Different races, ethnicities, languages, all the above. That being said, you would think we would have done what other countries have done. Include other languages to learn. Some people are actually bilingual, or know more than one language. Some people can speak fluently in 6 or 7 different languages. But that's what kills me about this. We had a golden opportunity to show that we are culturally aware. And for a lot of us, including myself that watched Super Bowl performance, I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was a love letter to their heritage and welcoming the door for everybody else that may or may not know these things. And I thought that was freaking beautiful. I loved it. Now, did I understand any of the words? Some. That didn't keep me from vibing with it. That didn't keep me from grooving with it. That didn't keep me from being like, you know what? I should learn more of their language. I should learn more of their culture. I should learn more of their history. Because when you do that, you become more culturally and more culturally aware, and you've expanded your horizons. And not only do I want that for myself, ladies and gentlemen, I want that for everybody, not just my kids, not just the next generation in general. I do believe the more culturally aware we become, the more Bad Bunnies that we'll have around this earth, and the less Kid Rocks and Jelly Rolls. I don't know him, man. I'm just a dumb redneck. No, motherfucker, you from Antioch. You from Antioch. You were a hip hop artist. It didn't work out well for you as a hip hop artist. Then all of a sudden you went country and got accepted. You're not a dumb redneck. You just know how to move differently when you know how to make money. That being said, again, it was a wonderful performance. But it never ceases to amaze me that whenever it comes to the simple fact of the matter, that it's just an opportunity to learn. Learn. It's an opportunity to learn a culture different from your own. That's it. And it never ceases to amaze me how lazy some Americans have become. I won't say all Americans. Some Americans have become. Oh man, it's in English. I won't watch it. But you'll go watch Kid Rock's failed lip sync, ba with a ba, Turning Point bullshit. Because that's all it was. Turning Point, I should say, Erica Kirk's new empire after she, suddenly stopped grieving about her husband. That was a travesty. And as they heard, Diaper Don didn't watch it. What did he watch? The one thing he said he wouldn't. I'm not going to watch it because he's doing the whole thing in Spanish. And I think the NFL needs to be investigated. As House Republicans are trying to call for an inquiry that a private organization has done. They're trying to call for an inquiry. Your tax dollars at work, ladies and gentlemen. And another reason why Republicans should be in office, especially these. But yeah, so he did it. So he did it in Spanish. So what? I'm going to be honest with you. I hope the next one, I hope the next Super Bowl is in a different language. I hope the next Super Bowl halftime show is in a different language. I hope it's a different culture. I hope it's a different language. Just so I can see these dilapidated napkins turn around and say, well, I'm not watching the halftime show as watching the halftime show. I'm not going to watch a guy who's going to speak in Spanish while you're eating nachos, salsa, and guac, and probably queso. So you'll eat everything of their culture, but you won't listen to their culture. You'll go to Mexican restaurants, but you still want them to speak English to make you feel comfortable. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the definition of white-ass privilege. But hey, Bad Bunny won, and I love it for the guy. I love what he was able to do. Fuck Kid Rock, fuck Fox News, fuck Lori Ingram, and fuck Diaper Don. I can't promise that'll be the last of the profanities I'll say on this podcast, but thank you for rocking with me so far. That being said, we need to get to the other thing that Diaper Don did, where he decided that, today I'm going to post on Truth Social, and I'm not going to show it here. It's been shown already. Picture debuting, showing former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama as apes. Of course, everybody did the usual thing, and I say everybody, I mean Republicans, immediately denouncing him. Even Uncle Tom's ass, Tim Scott, I can't believe this is the most racist thing I've seen. This is the most racist thing I've seen in a long time. Motherfucker, you work with them. You're associated with them. You're in the same country club with them, and that's the most racist thing you've seen? Clearly, the fake outrage is not happening with our folks. But, of course, it was on Truth Social for quite a while. It did get taken down. But when the current administration asked Diaper Don about this, and would he apologize? Well, we got this.
Speaking out following that rare reversal, taking down a video reposted by his social media account. After the Senate's only black Republican, South Carolina's Tim Scott, a strong Trump supporter, called the decision to repost it, quote, the most racist thing I've seen out of this White House.
I didn't make a mistake. I mean, I look at a lot of thousands of things, and I looked at the beginning of it. It was fine. Nobody knew that was at the end.
The AI-generated video depicting Barack and Michelle Obama as apes was reposted by the president's Truth Social account just before midnight and deleted this morning. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt initially defended reposting the video, writing, this is from an internet meme video depicting President Trump as the king of the jungle and Democrats as characters from The Lion King. Please stop the fake outrage. But after Scott's stinging criticism and more Republicans piling on, the abrupt U-turn, with a White House official telling NBC News a, quote, staffer erroneously made the initial repost. It comes after Tom pressed the president about inflammatory posts he amplifies on Truth Social, including about election integrity.
Some theories about Italians and satellites. I mean, do you believe that stuff?
No, I didn't cheat. I sometimes will retweet.
Yeah.
All as a New York Times analysis of satellite images shows Iran appears to have made only limited fixes to major nuclear sites destroyed by the U.S. The president also told Tom.
So let me stop it there because it goes into Iran building nuclear sites that were supposedly destroyed, but apparently everybody doesn't remember that the strikes really didn't do shit because they're buried underground. That being said, I want to get back to this for a second. That, professional liar and basically Sarah Huckabee's replacement in the White House said this. That, of course, this is an internet meme, the video depicting President Trump as king of the jungle and Democrats as characters from The Lion King. Please stop the fake outrage. Now, for everybody who's a Disney fan, and I'm pretty sure it's a lot of us out there, we all remember The Lion King, right? Let's, ask one question. Do you remember apes being The Lion King? Gorillas? I didn't think so. And yet, this is the bullshit they come up with. This is the bullshit they came up with. Well, it's just depicting characters from The Lion King. That's the best excuse you got. And of course, Diaper Don saying, well, I didn't create it. I just retweeted. I just repost it. You repost it. So not only do you like what you saw, you turned around and you reposted it and then came, oh, well, a staffer did it. No. We knew who did it. Trying to sit there and say it was Taco, Diaper Don, trying to say it was him is full of caca, as he's full of caca because he wears a diaper. Been wearing adult diapers for a while. And if you believe the White House, they're gonna have to burn everything in that Oval Office once he finally leaves. As much shit as he's laid out there. But this is the excuse of racism. This is the excuse that I can post black people being depicted as gorillas, monkeys, apes, and say, oh, no. Be honest. You were already honest about being a bigot. You were already honest about being a racist. You were already honest about being a pedophile. You were already honest about everything else except what you don't want to be called. You don't want to be called a racist pedo convict. Even though all those things are true, all of them, and yet a staffer is the excuse is a staffer did it because Trump's not racist. Yes, he is. This is the same man. For a lot of people that don't remember, this is the same man that took the New York Times and got a 5-page front page about the exonerated five. Back then, it was Central Park Five. The same five young black men accused of essaying a young white woman. And Trump turned around at that time and took out a 5-page news ad that's basically condemning them and saying they should all be killed. So those the Central Park Five, known as the exonerated five, are suing, and I hope they win. But I'm just pointing out something about Trump and saying he's not racist. Condemning 5 black boys for a crime they didn't commit, him and his father being sued for not actually leasing out to people of color when they had apartments. I can keep going down a list of all these things that Diaper Don says he's not racist, and yet history proves otherwise. The thing about it is, guys, is just that not only taking apart from what he did to the Obamas, not only for him knocking down a Super Bowl halftime show because he couldn't understand it because he's too effing lazy to basically read and study and understand another language because his privilege, white privilege, always comes back up and they always love to use it to sound like the whining snowflakes they call everybody else. And you can't make that shit up. But speaking of things you can't make up, guys, Epstein associate and currently in Cushy prison, Giselle Maxwell, is going to be testifying before a committee, except she's pleading the fifth. Why? Because, well, in exchange for her testimony, she says she wants clemency. How much you want to bet she's going to get it?
One of Trump's top cabinet members remains under fire for his relationship with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said he distanced himself from Epstein a decade ago. The files showing that the two were in contact as recently as 2018. This comes as Epstein co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell invoked the Fifth Amendment while appearing virtually from prison before the House Oversight Committee. Lawmakers on the Hill will now get the chance to see millions of documents related to Epstein without any redactions. Our Capitol Hill correspondent Jay O'Brien joining me now. So Jay, how does Maxwell pleading the fifth impact the committee's investigation now?
It doesn't necessarily change their inquiry. They were expecting Maxwell to plead the fifth. Her lawyers had telegraphed that to the committee, but it does add a wrinkle into this overall Epstein saga because Maxwell's lawyers made it clear to the committee, both committee members say and Maxwell's lawyers confirm that she will not talk unless she's granted clemency from President Trump. I wanted to read to you a little bit of a statement from her lawyer because it is telling. It says, quote, she is, quote, prepared to speak fully and honestly if granted clemency by President Trump. Only she can provide the complete account. He then adds, quote, both President Trump and President Clinton are innocent of any wrongdoing. Ms. Maxwell alone can explain why, and the public is entitled to that explanation. And so there were Republicans on this panel who said they were frustrated with Ghislaine Maxwell not answering their questions. And the chairman of the Oversight Committee, a Republican himself, said he doesn't believe that Maxwell should be given any clemency from President Trump. But Democrats went even further, and they accused Maxwell of essentially trying to play President Trump here, of dangling the possibility of absolving him of any kind of a speculation as to his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Trump has always denied any wrongdoing and any knowledge of Epstein's crimes, for the possibility of clemency here. And it comes as there is continued fallout from those more than 3 million pages of Epstein files that the Department of Justice released. And that includes, as you say, Howard Lutnick, but others who were seen in Jeffrey Epstein's orbit. And one of the things that Democrats, especially up here on Capitol Hill, are pointing out, and a handful of Republicans too, is how different it is here than it is in the UK right now. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer is embroiled in a political scandal that might actually take down his government because of his connections, or his government's connections, to Jeffrey Epstein. Starmer's not even in the Epstein files, but a former UK ambassador to the US is. And so I talked to lawmakers about that. Here's what one Jamie Raskin told me. You think the British are taking it more seriously than we are?
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's a huge scandal in England right now, going all the way to the Prime Minister, and his name is not mentioned anywhere in the Epstein files, unlike Donald Trump's.
Now, worth pointing out here, Kira, again, the president has denied any knowledge of Jeffrey Epstein's crimes, but there is this stark difference here about how this scandal is playing out in Britain than how it is playing out in the United States. And that is a serious topic of conversation up here on the Hill.
Well, lawmakers.
And here's the one thing I will say about all this. The simple fact of the matter is, if the Epstein files are all set to where an entire house comes down, may it come down and burn. Now, do I think Miss Maxwell is going to weigh out? Yeah, because we already know there's too many things about this case we already know. Number one, Diaper Don is up to his eyeballs in these files. And the fact that the DOJ has worked like the president's personal law firm to redact, to remove, or just complete out, destroy any mention of the president in these files screams a lot, even to where Maxwell has sat there and said, I will testify if I'm given clemency. Basically walk scot-free. And that alone tells you everything you need to know. So again, we will see what happens. I don't think with this current administration, and I'm just going to be completely honest with you guys, Pam Bondi will not do shit. If she had the literal smoking gun that would nail Diaper Don to a complete do not pass go, do not collect $200 straight to prison, if she had the evidence, I will bet you money it'll never see the light of day. She'll bury it. Because, and I've said this before, when it comes to Trump, and if he got a second shot, he's learned his lesson. He's not going to hire the smartest people. He's going to hire loyalists. People who will do exactly what he wants, when he wants, how he wants. And if he sat there and said, I want those files buried, what do you think the DOJ is doing right now? And again, with Maxwell testifying and just pleading the fifth to everything, it's really a waste of time. It really is. She's already serving her sentence. And again, the reason why, and here's the thing, the reason why Don isn't immediately giving her pardon, he looks guilty. I mean, he's already guilty, but that would just shine light on him and say, oh, he's definitely in it. But we know that. All the more so, the DOJ is the only roadblock because Democrats only got so much to look at the files. And it was 4 laptops among 432 people. And then guess what? The DOJ tracked every document that the Democrats looked at. Please tell me again how Trump is not trying to help with his own cover-up. Because let's be honest, if the midterms go the way we think they're going to go, and the Democrats do get a lot of power in the House and the Senate, the current administration, the president included, is very nervous and afraid because they can be prosecuted for crimes while in office. And let's just say Diaper Don might be the biggest culprit of all, along with everybody else. But we'll see. But yeah, Maxwell testifying was just unfortunately lip service. But speaking of the midterms, of course, Diaper Don is already making the rounds again, trying to sit there and say we need new regulation to prevent our elections from being defrauded, from having people trying to vote that they shouldn't vote. You know, the classics.
Down to the midterms, President Trump is repeating his usual list of election falsehoods, claiming without evidence that our elections are rigged, stolen, and a laughingstock all over the world. Now he's called for nationalizing elections, urging Congress to pass the SAVE Act. So what exactly does that mean? If passed, this bill would require people to provide proof of U.S. citizenship, like a passport or birth certificate, when registering to vote in federal elections. But voting groups like the Brennan Center warn that the bill could block millions of people from voting and that it's actually an attack on the freedom to vote. Sean Morales-Doyle is the director of the Brennan Center's Voting Rights and Election Program. Great to have you, Sean. Republicans say that this law secures our voting process, and requiring proof of citizenship to vote is just common sense. Why do you disagree?
Well, first of all, our elections are already secure, but secondly, it's not common sense to require these kinds of documents for people to register to vote when we know that 21 million adult American citizens don't have ready access to a passport or a birth certificate, which is exactly what they'd have to show in order to get registered to vote if the SAVE Act would pass. So this bill would surely block millions of American citizens from voting, and I don't think it's common sense at all to block people from voting in order to make our elections more secure.
Well, you've done studies on voter ID. How likely are people to actually have these documents readily available?
Yeah, I think it's really important for people to realize that this isn't really a voter ID law. This is a show your papers law. We're not talking about a driver's license here. I saw that graphic at the beginning mentioned a real ID compliant license, and it's true that the bill suggests you could use a real ID compliant license, but it's not actually true because it says that license has to demonstrate you're a citizen on its face, and real IDs don't do that. Real IDs are available to both citizens and non-citizens alike, and they don't demonstrate whether you're a citizen. So what we're talking about here is a show your papers law, where you'd have to show your birth certificate or your U.S. passport to vote. And again, there are millions, tens of millions of American citizens that don't have ready access to those documents. Only about half of Americans even have a passport. And so I don't think this is, a reasonable solution if we had a problem. And the reality is that we don't have a problem to solve here in the first place.
Well, Democrats warned that this law and Trump's calls to federalize elections are actually laying the groundwork for him to influence the midterms. Is that a real worry?
Absolutely. I think in his first year in office, Trump has engaged in a concerted campaign to undermine our 2026 elections. This call to nationalize elections is just him saying it out loud, but he's been doing it for months before then. It began on the first day of his administration when he pardoned the people responsible for January 6th, sending a clear message to people who might subvert elections that he'll have their back. It continued with him issuing an executive order in which he attempted to implement exactly the policy in the SAVE Act or something very similar to it by executive fiat. And it has continued since then. And his office, the White House, actually said when he made this comment about nationalizing elections, he was talking about the SAVE Act. That doesn't really make sense, but it does reveal that the SAVE Act is just another prong of this concerted multi-pronged campaign to undermine our elections. I think people should be worried about it, but I also think that we have the tools to fight back against it and make sure that we can have free and fair elections again in 2026.
All right, Sean Morales-Doyle.
So the one thing I did want to point out, and let me go back to a second, because again, that man is right on all counts, because here's the problem. And here's the problem. And here's the problem I'm getting at, guys. The thing I'm getting at here is what he said. that this is a show your papers law. But what, and again, I know I'm sounding like a broken record, but I'm only trying to get you guys to understand. The SAVE Act has nothing to do with real ID. As he explained, and again, if you're like me in Tennessee and other states, you do have to get a real ID eventually. I know I have to. Because my license will be expiring. But what this whole bill was again, bill required proof of citizenship to vote federal elections. Now, for all those that haven't been paying attention, currently what used to be that your driver's license or ID or CDL, along with a combination of your social security card or your birth certificate to register to vote, was all you freaking needed. Now, if you believe Diaper Don and the rest of the Republicans who believe that illegals are voting and somehow illegal immigrants are voting, which again has been debunked because legal immigrants may be paying taxes into our system, but they do not have IDs and therefore cannot vote. That being said, he's trying to push this Save America Act to where you would need, as they're showing here, a real ID, complaint ID showing citizenship. The problem is with, as the man said, real IDs is that immigrants can get IDs as well as naturalized citizens. So that's neither a moot point. So what are they doing? They're going to the next step. The next step is you have to have a U.S. passport or your birth certificate. Now, for a lot of people, as the man said, not everybody has a U.S. passport. I can tell you this from experience. The process can take a while, up to 6 weeks. You do have to go to a U.S. Postal Service or an area or a passport center in your area. You do have to go to, Little Raven Roo, pay a fee, wait about 6-7 weeks, bingo bango, you get your passport. Unless you're at a consulate or overseas, and that's a lot faster, but that's a whole nother story. But not a lot of people have U.S. passport, and not a lot of people are going to be carrying their birth certificates around. So what is this doing? As we've said before last year, and we're going to be saying this year, as we get close to the midterms, ladies and gentlemen, they are trying to move the goalposts. The Republicans know that they are in freaking trouble. The Republicans know that people are tired. Taco's approval rating is in the toilet, below 30%, well over 60% disapprove of the way he's running the country right now. And that number is only going to grow. And Republicans are nervous. Trump is nervous because, again, like I said, if Democrats get the House, and let me stress this very carefully when I say this, Democrats are at this point, it's their race to lose. They can get the House and the Senate. Here's also what I'm saying. If they get overwhelming majorities in the House and the Senate, that's when Taco's going to be deathly afraid. Because impeachment of a president requires 2/3 of Congress to impeach him, which means that not only would Democrats need to get well over 70% of the House, well over 70, they would also have to get close to and here's the thing, 70% of the House they would have to get. They would only need to get 60% of the Senate. So if you really think about it, Democrats only need 60% of the Senate, 70% of the House. If they get those, they have overwhelming majority and the 2/3 they need to move for impeachment and get away with it. Hence why Republicans are gerrymandering, trying to remove seats, trying to instill voter laws, trying to move the goalposts, closing voting areas, trying to eliminate mail-in voting. They are doing all of these things because they know their plans have not helped the American people and you've pissed them off. So with that being said, it is going to be interesting these next 9 months because Democrats, all you got to do, the old guard has to go. Nancy Pelosi's already on her way out. Chuck Schumer should be shown the door and let the women lead. You do that, Trump's good is gone. And I'll put money on that. But speaking of Trump, because he wants to put his name on every goddamn thing, he is now launching a new online drugstore called Trump RX, to where you can get prescription discount, where you can order your prescriptions at prices. If it's like everything else that Trump has put his name on, you won't see your prescriptions for the light of day.
The Trump administration last night launching its new website known as Trump RX, designed to make prescription drugs cheaper.
Dozens of the most commonly used prescription drugs will be available at dramatic discounts for all consumers.
The website does not sell medications directly. Instead, it offers pharmacy coupons like this or discounts through the manufacturer. The president saying consumers can expect big savings on medications used to treat diabetes, heart disease, and obesity. For example, the popular weight loss drug Wegovy will be discounted to about $150 a month, down from an original price of more than $1,300. Although by late last year, some patients were already paying as little as $199 a month. Trump RX discounts are available only to cash-paying patients and do not apply to those using insurance. The website advises users to check their copay first, because for some, paying through insurance may still be cheaper.
This is expected to benefit a very narrow group of Americans, those who, number one, don't have insurance, and number two, can also afford to pay these prices out of pocket.
Experts say the program could still help some insured patients.
Anybody who has a very high deductible, someone who has limited drug coverage as part of their current insurance plan, this could be very useful for them.
According to the website, the biggest savings could be on fertility drugs, which are often not covered by insurance.
Now, only a few dozen drugs are currently offered on the website, with more expected to be added.
And as I said before, good luck if you're trying to order that website. Because here's the thing, when Biden and the Democrats try to push this through, wanting to negotiate drug prices, Trump was sitting there saying, no, it's a terrible idea. And yet when he's back in office, he decides to do the exact same damn thing that Biden did, except he's got to put his name on it, as he put his names on everything else. This is a terrible idea because, again, only to those who will pay in cash and if you didn't have insurance. Kind of defeats the whole purpose of negotiating drug prices, doesn't it? At the same time, in this day and age, who can afford to pay more in insurance when health insurance is a for-profit business and it's a casino business? And just like all casinos, the house is winning. And like the rest of us that, pay out of our jobs or just pay out of pocket, we're getting screwed. We are getting screwed every time. But you want to make this seem like it's a great idea. Honestly, it's not, because you will be paying more in prescriptions. You will not be paying less. At the same time, health insurance is still a problem because Republicans are trying to repeal Obamacare any which way they can. And at the same time, guys, folks are still not getting the care, the medicine, the help, therapy that they need, because Republicans are going to do what they do best. They are going to cash the checks that lobbyists from the biggest healthcare companies give them and try to sit there and say they're not the problem. Ergo, Trump doing a discount website that is no different from GoodRx. Just saying. But moving right along, guys, I did want to cover the story as well because former Madam Vice President Kamala Harris rebrands her campaign. Is she coming back? And if she is coming back, are we getting another run at being president?
Harris is reactivating her campaign's social media accounts. Harris announced the move in a new video this morning, saying she's excited about it.
So Kamala HQ is turning into headquarters, and it's where you can go online to get basically the latest of what's going on, and also to meet and revisit with some of our great, courageous leaders, be they elected leaders, community leaders, civic leaders, faith leaders, young leaders. I'm really excited about it. So stay engaged, and I'll see you out there.
Aides say the rebranded accounts will be affiliated with, but not run by, the former vice president. ABC News political director Avery Harper is here for more on that. So, Avery, how will this work and what impact could it have?
Right. This is about building digital infrastructure. When I talk to those close to the former vice president, they say this is an effort to push Democratic messaging in places online where the party has really struggled to compete with progressive voices, has struggled to compete with Republican voices as well. And so if this does work, it does give Democrats a megaphone, essentially, for messaging in places that they have not been able to reach young voters, particularly those who are increasingly online.
So what does this tell you about Harris's plans for 2028?
Well, it doesn't tell us all that much yet, right? There's no declaration here saying that she is now going to run, but it does signal that the former vice president, is finding ways to remain politically active and relevant in the case that she does decide to run in 2028 or beyond.
Meanwhile, Avery, the Supreme Court is allowing California to go.
So I gotta be honest. Yes, she is. Yes, the former VP is rebranding, and with headquarters. But let's play a game of what if. Let's play that game. Let's say the former Madam VP decides that she wants to run for president again. Like I said before, the only thing I'm mad about Joe Biden is that when he decided he wanted to run again, he should have decided not until after his first debate with then Diaper Don, and then deciding that he could no longer continue. I really do think he hamstringed Harris. Harris had to run a 2-year campaign in less than 9 months, and that was completely and utterly unfair. That being said, she did show herself well in debates and sat there in the one debate that she actually had. And I think she would have actually made a great president, a great first Madam President. Now, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I do think there are some people in this country that honestly are a little bit sexist. I can't follow a woman that's president. Every other country outside the U.S. has had at least a woman as a prime minister, a president, or head of state. And those countries are still here. Some of them even thriving. And it never ceases to amaze me that we call ourselves progressive. We say we're moving forward, and yet 2 women, former First Lady, former Senator of New York, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, who might as well just had a crystal ball and predicted everything that Trump was going to do, and she has not been wrong, and yet they chose Trump. Madam VP Harris came forward and, much like the crystal ball, said everything that Trump was going to do, and she's yet to be wrong. Yet folks voted for Trump again. I'm not saying Harris is running for office. I wouldn't be surprised if she is. But just like my last couple of podcasts I said ago, as I kept the title for it, this time, vote for the Black woman. Because I honestly think that she'll make a great presidential candidate. But I also believe that Democrats need to produce more than just one and not get behind a single horse. But like I said, for the Democratic side, if they need to turn to the women who are being progressive with a bold progressive agenda and push forward on that, while the moderate centrist Democrats need to retire, because Congress is nothing more than a nursing home with power, and that's scary that one of those guys who should actually be in a hospice right now is currently the president, shitting in a diaper. But we will see what she does. Like I said, it's 9 months. We will see. Moving right along, guys, we're covering a story that we covered a week ago about New York nurses going on strike, 15,000 to be exact. And we actually have some news from that. And like I said about most strikes, if you pay the people, they always come back. And you should have paid them. You should have done right by them in the first freaking place.
It's a busy Monday afternoon. We're going to begin with a major relief for thousands of striking nurses and their patients.
A tentative agreement was reached with Montefiore and Mount Sinai, but the strike continues for more than 4,000 nurses at New York Presbyterian.
Eyewitness News reporter Darla Miles outside Mount Sinai on the Upper East Side with the breaking developments. Darla.
David in San
You can see we're outside of Mount Sinai, and there are a number of nurses out here, but the volume of nurses clearly a lot fewer after reaching that tentative agreement. I want to go right to what they have agreed upon so far, those sticking points, the things that have ended this 29-day nurses strike for 2 different hospitals. Right now, this tentative agreement is really important after certain nurses decided they were going to stick to their guns. So for Montefiore and Mount Sinai, they have agreed upon safe staffing, health benefits, protections against workplace violence, limits on AI, and a pay raise of more than 12% over 3 years. Now, let's talk about New York Presbyterian, which is still striking. There's still 4,200 nurses there who have not reached an agreement on one key point. That is the safe staffing issue. As you remember, this strike started 29 days ago at all 3 hospitals, and it was never expected to go this long. This is now the longest strike in the history of the New York Nurses Association, but they did not waver on any of their points, mainly the workplace violence after a number of incidents here at New York City hospitals, and they wanted that patient ratio, the patient to nurse ratio be lower, especially because that really leads to the standard of care. But again, live, you can see some people are still out here striking. They're still making noise. The scene in New York Presbyterian might be a little different right now, but you have a lot of support for the nurses strike. You had a lot of people come out here to support nurses, newly elected Mayor Mamdani. But this is big news. 2 of the 3 hospitals now no longer striking, reaching a tentative agreement. New York Presbyterian still under negotiations.
And I've been saying this the entire time. If you simply pay people, they'll come to work. It's not that freaking hard, especially if you think about this one right here. All they wanted, tentative agreement, safe staffing, health benefits, protection against workplace violence, limit on AI, pay raise of more than 12% over 3 years. You know what I got out of all that is better benefits, better pay, better protections at work. And they would come back to work. And this kind of goes back to what I was talking about, guys. This comes back to what I was talking about when I was saying about these healthcare companies, these hospitals that are ran by corporations. They only see profit. Even then, New York Presbyterian is still striking, 4,200 nurses. And the whole thing was safe staffing. Because again, I know some nurses, and I always say it best. The stories they tell me of dealing with patients that are violent, that are disturbed, and they don't always get the help that they need, but they're still expected to do their jobs, which I think is crazy. And not to mention, for the simple fact of the matter is, it wasn't too long ago that we praised them, didn't we? Oh, these nurses are these nurses, these first responders, these people that keep these businesses running, grocery store attendants. You guys are essential workers. Did we give them pay? Did we give them better benefits? Did we give them raises? Did we really show our appreciation the best way we should have done it better, that we should have known how? Because as constituents, yes, we applauded them. Some of them may have actually gotten cards or words of encouragement from us. Their companies that employed them should have done right by them. Hence why New York nurses, at least two out of the three hospital care systems up there, the private ones, are expecting the nurses to come back to work, while one is holding out because, let's just be honest, they don't care about the nurses that much to where the nurses don't feel safe to work there. And I'm sorry, I'll say it once, I'll say it again. You can have doctors, you can have staff. You cannot run a hospital without nurses. You can't run a private practice without nurses. You can't even run an urgent care without nurses. So if I were y'all, pay them and give them what they need so they can help others and you can keep your profits going, because it won't take away from your profits to actually pay people the right way, livable wages. You'll still turn a profit. Don't believe me? None of these corporations are complaining about having a slow season. That's all I'm saying. But as one strike is partially ended, another one is gearing up for teachers in San Francisco that are going on strike because, surprise, surprise, they're not getting what they need. And education is essential.
And today they see our power!
After 11 months of negotiations, San Francisco teachers are on strike.
The district's giving us numbers that just don't add up.
San Francisco educators said they want a 4.5% increase in wages each year for 2 years. Initially, the district offered 2% raises for the next 3 years, but now it has offered 3% each year for 2 years. Superintendent Maria Su said the district is trying to avoid further cuts to schools as it faces a $100 million budget deficit for next year.
San Francisco Unified School District does not have unlimited funds. We are managing a structural deficit, and we are currently still under state oversight.
The district has also offered $24,000 in a health benefit allowance, which the educators union spoke out against on Monday.
We're looking for fully funded family benefits. Right now, if you have 2+ on your health care, you're paying $1,500 a month.
Nearly 50,000 students did not attend class on Monday. One of them is 8-year-old Santiago Garcia. His mom, Yerenia Tavares, is a janitor at ABC 7.
Yeah, I have to bring it because I don't have nobody to take care of them.
Yerenia woke up her son today and broke the news to him. School was closed indefinitely. Was it hard to wake up and have to come here today?
Yeah.
And today they
And what it comes down to, folks, is just that it comes down to pay. I always love how management, oh, there's just not enough money in the budget, but you want the educators to work for free. Now, I will say it like this, guys. I will really say it like this. I will never understand how we can put teachers and everybody else on pedestals and pay them peanuts. I will never really understand it. And at the same doggone time, we expect them to do their job. Don't get me wrong. I love teachers. I love educators. They make such a difference in children's lives. But they have to make a living too. Some of them got families. Some of them have kids. And I can tell you off the bat, paying for health insurance on kids ain't cheap. And again, going back to the greedy ass healthcare companies. And then you have jobs that aren't paying enough. And then you have a job that can be as challenging as being an educator for other kids. Something's got to break. So no, I don't blame those teachers. I hate to say it that the ones that'll suffer are the children. But at the same time, you can't run this meat grinder of educators coming in, trying to teach these children, and somehow children trying to survive off just that. So again, I wouldn't be surprised if San Francisco caves into their teachers. San Francisco has one of the bigger districts in the country, and kids cannot afford to be out of school very long. So we will definitely see what goes on with that. But like I've said, the simple fact of the matter, folks, pay people a livable wage, give them the benefits that they need, and you'll have your workers. It's not that effing hard. But speaking of things, going back to the Olympics for a second, it never ceases to amaze me, guys, that when an athlete speaks their mind and says something to the tune of I represent this country, but I don't like what's going on. Only Diaper Don would get his diapers in a twist because the athletes are simply speaking their mind. Like these two skiers, when asked about, representing the country, which again, these are U.S. skaters, but I'll let them speak for themselves.
As Americans struggle with the heated debate about immigration enforcement tactics and public safety here at home, some of the U.S. athletes competing in the Winter Olympics in Milan have acknowledged the complicated feelings they're navigating as they represent their country on the biggest stage in global sports.
It brings up mixed emotions to represent the U.S. right now, I think.
It's a little hard. There's obviously a lot going on that I'm not the biggest fan of, and I think a lot of people aren't. Just because I'm wearing the flag doesn't mean I represent everything that's going on in the U.S.
I love the USA, and I think I would never want to represent a different country in the Olympics. With that being said, you know, a lot of times athletes are hesitant to talk about political views and how we feel about things. I feel heartbroken about what's happened in the United States. I think that as a country, we need to focus on respecting everybody's rights and making sure that we're treating our citizens as well as anybody with love and respect. And I hope that when people look at athletes compete in the Olympics, they realize that that's the America that we're trying to represent.
Those comments have drawn tough criticism from a number of Republicans, including President Trump.
Yes, because President Trump called them losers because they didn't sit there and kiss the president's ass. Now, I will say this between Hunter Hess and Chris Lillis. They only said what they believe. You know, I may wear the flag, but I'm not cool with everything that's going on right now. And then one guy then said, we need to actually be accepting of one another. And of course, Trump said, losers, how dare you? America is great, MAGA. And that's exactly what he did, along with others, because Fox News had to have their points too, but we're not going to go down that cesspool. We try to avoid it as much as we can. But when it comes down to it, guys, I am honestly reminded of Jesse Owens because of him winning the gold medal for track and field and the symbolic, everybody remembers the pose. And I just remember the longest time, white Americans did not like Owens for that. They love the fact that, yeah, USA won because that was in Hitler Germany, but everybody hated Owens because, again, he may have wore USA colors, but at the time of Jim Crow and segregation and everything else that's going on, he didn't agree with it, and he spoke out against it. And vis-a-vis, fast forward, we're at that same point again. That, yes, as Americans, we do need to speak our minds. If you do have a platform, you should use it to speak about the injustice and things of that nature. Because let's be honest, a podcast like mine, which I love dearly, may not reach everybody. But somebody famous, like Bad Bunny, or somebody, or an athlete, like LeBron James, they could use their platform because, let's be honest, more eyes are attached to them. So yes, as athletes, as certain celebrities and people that have amassed them out and have a great following, you do have a responsibility to use your platform for good and speak out. Because here's the thing I have noticed before we go on to the next couple of stories in the feel good segment. Here's the one thing I've noticed, folks. It's just that people never pay attention until it hits home. And when it hits home, it's a culture shock. So imagine those that have a following are sitting there saying, I never thought I'd make this. I never thought I'd make this type of statement. But then again, I didn't think this would happen to me either. Imagine the impact that would have. Folks would be listening. It's almost in the same sense of when Bad Bunny said, I am doing my show in Spanish. Please feel free to learn the language. I want everyone to enjoy it. If only we were that freaking open. Difference of a world we would be. But here's another reason why I say that might be a little bit hard to come by because, well, Indiana. Oh, dear God. This is Project 2025, and I'm just going to be honest about this. There is currently a bill that is about to be proposed that requires schools to promote marriage before having kids. So, a state senator, Republican of course, sat there and made a bold promise, requiring public schools to teach the importance of getting married before having children. And because of that, all students will prosper later in life. What the frack? Because this is supposedly a concept, success sequence. It's supposedly a 3-step formula touted by conservatives for boosting young people's chance of financial stability. First, obtain a high school diploma or higher. Second, find a full-time job. Finally, get married before having children. If you wonder who this came from, American Enterprise Institute, the Institute for Family Studies. That's where it came from. And it never ceases to amaze me that it's all Project 2025. You know why? Because the simple fact of the matter, guys, is this all comes from the thing of we have to ensure that the white baby fertility rate or baby rate increases. Because birth rates for white people have significantly decreased. So what do? Oh, we go back to basics. Let's go back to the 50s. Let's put women in the home. Let's not let them get secondary jobs. Let's not let them do anything without a man. Let's make sure they stay barefoot and pregnant. We're going to need more white babies. So what do? You literally go to one of the whitest states in the United States. You go to where it's conservative and possibly religious, and you indoctrinate. And this is why I sit there and say that when it all comes down to it, it's just trying to repopulate their numbers because their birth rate is declining. At the same time, conservatives, being the party of small government, wants to use government to impose their beliefs on everybody else. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is indoctrination. Now, of course, this is still being proposed. It has yet to make it to the floor, but if it does, God help people. But the last one I got, guys, is pretty much a quick one because Trump has a nominee for the Fed chair. And lo and behold, his nominee wants to lower interest rates. Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Let's get to the Fed. Is there any doubt in your mind that interest rates are going to be lowered?
Not much.
Why? How can you say that?
I just think they're going to be lowered. I mean, they should.
Is your new Fed pick on board with that?
We're way high. Okay, we're way high in interest. We have now, with me and with all the money, I've always been good at money. And with all the money coming into our country, we're a rich country again. We have debt, but we also have growth. And the growth will soon make the debt look very small. Because it's the greatest way, you have two ways. You can cut, and we do that anyway, and we did that. You know, we got rid of hundreds of thousands of federal workers. Yeah. And those workers went out and got themselves jobs in the free enterprise system. And you know what? That's called making America great again. We had 10 workers in the federal government for every single job. When the Democrats go in, they hire. I could right now give you the best employment numbers in history. You know what I do? Go out and hire 2 million people, put them in the federal government.
Does your new Fed
I
pick,
do the opposite.
Yeah. Does your new Fed pick understand that you want him to lower interest rates?
Oh, I think he does, but I think he wants to anyway. I mean, if he came in and said, I want to raise them,
if he said that, he wouldn't have gotten the job.
He would not have gotten the job.
That part right there. That part right freaking there. If your new pick for the Fed chair sat there and said, no, I will not cut interest rates. You heard it from Diaper Don's second mouth of shit. He would have nominated him. Because, again, guys, when it comes down to it, Trump was not very good with money. This is the same man that bankrupted 6 casinos. Let me stress this again. He bankrupted 6 casinos. Casino, a literal foolproof way of making money, and this man bankrupted 6 of them. And yet you're good with money? And then the whole mess of, well, we created the greatest economy. No, your big, beautiful bill in tariffs have added $2.3 trillion to the national debt. Faster than any president in human history. At the same time, why do you want to lower interest rates? To access to money. He wants access to money. He wants access to where loans can be given out. You know why? Because he's looking at the U.S. Treasury, folks, like another piggy bank he wants to break. This and not to mention, this is the same guy who is currently suing the U.S. Treasury and the IRS because his tax returns got leaked. The same guy. And now, because he doesn't like Jerome Powell, because Jerome Powell checked him. And I'm not going to lie. I wish journalists would check politicians when they say stuff like that. He said a lot of bullshit. At the same time, I'm just like, no, bring up the numbers. Because if you're trying to look for job numbers, you haven't said shit about job numbers. Well, since the last time you said the numbers were cooked, and you fired the labor statistic person for that, and brought in your own, and the numbers were still the same. So what now? See, I wish journalists would check politicians because they should be checked. You don't get to bullshit your way through an interview and then at the end of it all say, well, I could show you. No, because if you could, you'd be taking victory laps right now. The fact that the economy is in the toilet, inflation is high, you've added more debt to the national debt, to which Republicans keep on talking about, and think that you're winning. Sir, you're about as full of shit as the diaper you sit on right now. That's all I'm saying. But we're going to move on to our feel-good segment, guys, because usually how the Frack We Got Here, we usually cover a lot of things that are doom and gloom. Sometimes make use of faith in humanity, but hey, it's Wednesday, tomorrow's Thursday. We will leave you guys out some good vibes. And it is Black History Month, although it really should be Black 365. I encourage everybody, whether you're black, white, brown, or polka dot, there are so many stories out there about Black people that aren't being told in history books or everywhere else, unless you're in a library. But I encourage you to go out there and discover a fact that you may not know about. Like, for example, the story I'm about to play is a history on the fact of cowboys. Because, yes, contrary to popular belief, the first cowboys, Black.
Welcome back to ABC News Live. First, we are celebrating Black History Month by honoring the legacy between Black Americans and cowboy culture. The Connecticut group Ebony Horsewomen Incorporated is educating kids about that often overlooked part of history, while also training the next generation of Black equestrians. And now the group's founder has opened the Mary Fields Horse and Heritage Museum in Hartford. And Ebony Horsewomen Inc. founder Patricia E. Kelly is here with more on that. Hi, Patricia. Happy Black History Month to you, and thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you. Good morning. It's my pleasure.
So the Mary Fields Horse and Heritage Museum is named after Stagecoach Mary, who's a legendary figure in Western history. Why this name? What do you want people to learn about her story and the history of Black equestrians in general?
Right. Well, she was an incredible woman. I feel connected to her in a lot of different ways because of course, the culture of, naturally, but also that she was a woman who was very much alone, unfortunately. She had no parents, well, of course she had parents, but disconnected from parents, disconnected from siblings. She had no children. She was in the world alone. But yet she did incredible things. As you know, she was hired by the U.S. Postal Service to deliver mail in Montana, something that the men couldn't do, which was quite amazing. So she was a woman not to be forgotten. So we're so happy that we were able to bring this museum about in her honor. And not only that, the Cowgirl Hall of Fame Museum and Hall of Fame in Fort Worth, Texas, also inducted her into their museum.
I know you also started the only magazine to celebrate Black equestrians, and the Black Boots Awards. Why is this topic so important to you? Why do you think people need to know about this history?
Because it's American history, number one. I think one of the greatest icons of America is the cowboy, which originally started with the Black horsemen who herd cattle. That term was created, unfortunately, it was a derogatory term, but it was to establish the difference between the white herdsmen and the Black ones. So they were called cowboys instead of cattlemen, cattle hands, cattle pokes. This history is at the beginning of the development of America. And now that we're celebrating our 250th year, it's incredibly important that our children know who, what, and how it all started. And it started, most of it, with the development of, bringing cattle across the country for feeding. But it was done by mostly Black equestrians, Black cowboys, as it was. And so coming forward, The Black equestrian is found in every discipline of equestrianism, and that needs to be celebrated, needs to be known, needs to be taught, needs to be celebrated, not just in Black History Month, but because it's American history, it needs to be taught all the time.
You say this also transfers to life skills. How?
Oh, very much so. So I always say that horses make humans more humans. So the practice of empathy, to understand the lifespan of other living beings on earth. And not only that, the horse is so intuitive, to create a bond with the children or anybody, that they begin to understand, the essence of life, which is more than stuff that you can buy and stuff that you can sell, but the creations and intimate relationships between animals and horses. It also gives the children a lot of information about equine science, which helps them to develop their careers in the future, to see what kind of careers normally not thought of that could be very, very open to them, and something that could be very rewarding as well. So it goes from the healing and the empathy, but also the knowledge of that can help develop careers in the future.
All right, Patricia E. Kelly, we appreciate your time today.
And I thought that was pretty cool. The fact that we're actually seeing a museum of ebony horsewomen and Black equestrians. Like I said, there are so many more stories out there that honestly need to be told. And like I said, just don't wait till February, guys. Please, with the abilities that we have, learn about Black history. At the same time, learn about different cultures. Be like Bad Bunny, not like Kid Rock and Jelly Roll. That being said, that's going to do it for this podcast. Thank you all for liking, for watching, for letting people know this is live. I certainly appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. I apologize for my voice. I hope it gets better because I'm so ready to get over this cold. But thank you for rocking with me. That being said, shameless plug before we do get out of here, guys. Shout out to APR TV. Why? Because How the Frack We can be seen on APR TV. You can definitely get it as an app on the Roku device or Amazon Fire Stick, but definitely check them out at APR TV or alwaysprogressivecore.com. Blurred Station. I've been talking about Blurred Station for not going on 2 years. A streaming site that has content for us, by us, television, movies, music, you name it, they have it. And they're going to be at BlurredCon this year in DC, March 6th to the 8th. If you are a person that wants to have your advertisements on our live BlurredCon stream, simply put, go to blurredstation.com, click on the live stream, scroll on down, and you can see where you can advertise based on our 4-tier system. You can basically pick which tier will work for you. And of course, the things that go from there, and your product, your show, whatever you want to advertise will be seen on the BlurredCon stream for Blurred Station. But as far as Blurred Station self-streaming service, $10.99 a month to stream on Blurred Station, and Blurred Station can be streamed on all smart devices. Definitely check it out. Also, check us out at How the Frack Got Here on YouTube. Literally put, if you type in How the Frack We Got Here podcast, we're the first thing that pops up. Like, share, subscribe, hit that bell notification. So anytime that we do go live or a new show is uploaded, you'll be able to know exactly when that goes on. And again, for all those that subscribe, thank you so much. But like I said before, none of this works without you guys. So definitely follow us here at YouTube on How the Frack We Got Here. And of course, How the Frack We Got Here on all socials. And as for myself, guys, Black_Spartan615. You can find me there. I usually talk to everybody. Just don't make it weird. I don't want to get in the habit of blocking people. And like I said, just keep it cool. That's all I ask. Also, I also want you guys to check out my compadres at Blurred's Eye View. Now, the reason why I say Blurred's Eye View is, well, basically because me and my compadres do talk about everything from there. You can definitely check out Blurred's Eye View on YouTube. That's right there. You can see that. And if you'll scroll down, you'll be able to follow us all directly from that page. Room Full of Blurs, my other show, Get Bit Podcast, Navy Montel, Geek by Heart, Show Quo, Lore of the Culture, and of course, Safari TV. You can definitely like and subscribe directly from the Blurred's Eye View podcast. And again, you won't be disappointed. Again, guys, as I'm wrapping this up, men in general, go get checked out. Please go to the doctor and keep up on your visits. Going to the gym is great. I know I enjoy it on a nightly basis, but apparently, guys, going to the gym and eating right is not enough. We have to get checked out, whether it's prostate, kidneys, or things like that. You don't want something that can be a silent killer simply to take you out because you yourself thought you were not, thought you were tough enough to survive it. We all need medical care. We all need to get checked out. We all want to live longer. So let's do what's necessary. That being said, also protect your mental, guys. Mental health is everything. Please take advantage of all services and places there if you are needing help, because again, you are needed, you are wanted on this verse in your verse of this story we call life. At the same time, guys, check on your people, call or text, and do something that makes you happy. Get away from doom scrolling. The world is still going to be here, but you definitely got to take care of you first and enjoy life. That being said, guys, the last thing I'll say about how Frack We Got Here, it's all about staying informed. We are not trying to reinvent the wheel, guys. We're simply giving you all the information, allow you to make up your own mind, but we do provide a positive perspective that goes along with it. We do better as society once we're informed or progressive. We move forward. We try to right the wrongs from our past, making decisions now that we should have done back then. Like electing our first black woman to the Supreme Court, electing our first black woman to the Federal Reserve Governor, electing our first black woman, hopefully one day, to be called Madam President. All great things. When we don't learn from history, we are doomed to repeat it. That's what we keep asking ourselves. Why are we electing different politicians? Why is everything all about our paycheck? Why are we electing different politicians? Still the same old game in Congress? And most importantly, the Frack We Got Here. Thank you all for watching, guys. Please take care of yourselves and each other, and I promise we'll get through this. Live long and prosper, guys. Peace.